Public intoxication can happen to anybody in Texas. Here's 3 things that you need to know about it. Number 1, take it seriously. It is a Class C criminal misdemeanor charge. So this is something that it can be on your record forever if you don't handle it the right way. Now, we get a lot of calls from people saying, hey, the clerks at the court told me, or the cop told me, or my brother-in-law told me, or whatever, that it was just a ticket, and if I paid it, it wasn't a big deal. If you just pay it, you do get out of having to go to court, but you end up with a criminal conviction forever. It's gonna come up on every background check. It's something that people can use against you professionally and personally if you're ever charged with a crime, God forbid, right down the road. They can say, hey, I can see you've already had a conviction for an alcohol or a drug crime. So it's something that you've got to take seriously. Number 2, the standard's super low. We hear all the time from folks like, hey, they didn't get a BAC from me. I didn't do field sobriety tests. I was on private property. I'm here to tell you that those things don't really matter. And I'm not trying to be negative, but they really don't. The subjective standard is super low for public intox in Texas. It's different than DWI, for example, where police officers do have to do field sobriety tests, and they do have to get a BAC, or they have to have enough probable cause to get a conviction without a BAC. There are all sorts of kind of things that cops really have to get over for DWI. For PI, an officer can say, man, I thought that they were a danger to themselves or others. I could have been wrong, but that's what I thought in the moment based on my training and experience. And that alone is enough to sustain a conviction. So it's a super low standard. If you feel that you were arrested erroneously, that this is just kind of a BS case, you're not alone. Most people feel that way. And a lot of times the facts support that. Again, it just goes back to it being a really low standard. Final thing on the low standard component, with public intoxication, you can still get it on private property. We get people all the time who were charged with a PI because they were on the balcony of their apartment, which is private property, right? But it's overlooking a public area. Or if you're on private property that is just adjacent to a public area, right? That's still good enough, according to Texas law, for public intoxication. The third and final thing that's important to know kind of at the end of all this is you don't have to take a conviction. You can get a dismissal. I know that it might seem totally uphill if you're one of these people who are like, man, I really was drunk and I really was in public. This is a mistake, but what am I gonna do? Don't give up. You've got constitutional rights, you have options, and I'm here to tell you that while no result can ever be guaranteed in a criminal case in Texas, we have an awful lot of experience in intoxication cases, and I'm positive that there's always an opportunity for somebody to get through a PI case without taking a final conviction. Sometimes that comes from challenging that evidence because, like I said, it's a low standard, but there can still be issues there. So we do a thorough look at that with officers' body cameras, with probable cause affidavits and other things like that. But also a lot of times, a public intoxication can be dismissed through negotiating a dismissal based on the circumstances and the criminal history of the individual. I said at the top of this video that PI can happen to anybody, and it really can, right? I mean, every bar and restaurant in town, every stadium that we have in Texas, every airport, there's a gate and there's a bar right next to the gate and you're drinking before you get on. It can happen anywhere, right? And so I just want you to know, if you're watching this, don't be totally wrecked by it. Take it seriously, but just know, on a positive note, you can get through this, and you should never, ever settle for a conviction if you're charged with PI in Texas.